Hi guys, Sparrow Gaming back with games in under 15 minutes. Today we're going to be looking at the consumable slots and how to drop our items from them. So if you can see here, if I put in these all on consumable slot 1, 2, and 3, when I press 1, all of them change. When I drag them out, it'll equip and update the inventory to how many we have in there, as well as if I pick it up, I want to update that there is another one, a new one in there. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at this. It is very similar to the last video. As you can see, we do need these variables. This dropped from equipment slot and con slot number. Those are going to be found in this drop slot, in the WB drop slot on drop. We're going to grab it from the casted WB inventory slot, which is where these variables are. WB inventory slot. These variables are here. Consumable slot. Instance editable. This goes on spawn. And it is equipment slot. Alright, you're going to plug those into this F drop item, which is in the AC inventory component that we're looking at right here. Alright, so we're setting these local variables here. We're getting the drop position. In the last video, we showed you how we check to see if the item to drop, what item type it was, and then we switched on the item type. If it was of the same type as equipped armor, then we reset the armor and we respawned it right here. Current stack is set to 1 because there's only one in that item. So over here, we're going to start with the consumable. That's what we're checking today. So if it is of item type consumable, the item to drop, right? If it's of type consumable, we're going to do this function here, which is a collapse function. We call it remove from inventory / reset consumable slot. And really, not that complicated. Don't really need these in here. They're just there because we'll need the amount to drop, and then these are just part of what I collapsed from earlier. So what it's doing is doing a for loop. It's getting the amount to drop, which is the same as this amount to drop. Alright, it's the same one as this. Alright, which in turn is this current stack. You can drag in from there. We might do that later. But going in here, up here, remove from inventory. Let's reset console. What it's doing, it's getting the amount to drop by getting the first index. It's going in, it's looping, getting the item to drop. It's finding it in the inventory however many times it's finding it. It's removing it from the index, and then however many amounts that it's supposed to remove from index, that's the amount to drop. So it's going to do that many times, and on completed, it's going to spawn that many items. So right now, again, we only have it set to 1. We're going to check to see if it's the same as what's in the equipped con slot 1. No, let me do that. If it is, this is where things start to get confusing, but if it is the same, if the item is the same as what the item is in equipped con slot 1, which is going to be down here. If it is the same, then we're going to see if the item to drop, if there is any in the inventory. If there isn't any in the inventory, then we're going to reset the con slot, which all of that is doing is just setting it to the empty holder items, and then updating the consumable to set the visibility. Alright. Then it's going to see if the item to drop was in the equipped con slot 2. If it was, then we already know that it doesn't have any in the inventory. So we're going to reset the con slot 2. And we're checking for 3 and resetting 3. Alright. And this is just saying, okay, so reset con slot 1. Is there any in 2? There's not any in 2. Well, we still have to check 3, so that's what we're going to do down here. And we're going to check 3. Basically doing that for all of this. It's just a big web of that. So if it was in inventory 1, then we got to update. Then we're going to update the con slot. And what that's doing is it's calling these update functions. It's just a collapsed function that calls update consumable 1, consumable 2, and consumable 3, which are all here in the event graph. We've set it up in previous video, but going over it, it's just getting the image, setting the stack amount, then it's setting the text, and it's telling the HUD to set it as well. So update consumable. Inside of this set HUD stack amount, we'll go ahead and go over this because we have to, as we make changes. Basically, it's doing that same checks we did just in that other one. It's getting the equipped con slot. Every single time we're setting the HUD stack amount, which was a function we created earlier in an earlier video, but what it's doing is it's setting all of the HUDs, all of these numbers. It's checking to see if they're the same item. If it is the same item, then we need to change that as well to be empty or to be less or more. So we're getting the equipped con slot 1, getting the held item. If it's equal to it, then we're going to set the text to the con 1. Then we're going to see if the equipped con slot 2 is the same item as the held item. If it is, then we're going to set con slot 2. Alright. And so if it's not equipped, the item in con slot 1 is not the held item, then check to see if the one in con slot 2 is, and then check to see if it's in 3. And we don't have to do all of these branches like on this false down because we're checking it in the next one. We're checking it in the next one. So yes. So overall here, that's that big web. Going back to the beginning. So we call the drop item function. We get the item type. First we see if it is from an equipment slot, right? If it's dropped from an equipment slot, we see what type of item the item to drop was. If it's a consumable item, we see which consumable slot it came from, which was that information was given to us from the same spot that we got if it was dropped from the equipment slot. When we know which one it came from, we go and call the remove from inventory / reset consumable slot, which is going to remove the item that we used, or the one item that we dropped from the equipment slot. It's going to remove it. It's going to spawn it. And then it's going to update the text. Then we're going to check to see if the equipped the item to drop was what was in console 1. If that's the item that we drug out of, if it was, then we're going to reset the equipped slot. It's going to be of item type consumable, console 1. These are the inputs. And here, it's just a collapse function where I'm resetting all of these. Resetting the armor, reset the weapon, reset consumable, where we're just getting it, setting the consumable to the empty holder item, set the notify to the empty holder item, cast to the master character, update consumable 1 to the empty holder item. This is just a player HUD reference. And then set the visibility to invisible. And we're doing this up here was just how I had it set beforehand, so paid no attention to that. But we're doing this right here because it is what takes it off of the inventory when we use it. So if we didn't have this, as it says too, if we didn't have it like this, then this would never go away. Even though we had 1 in our inventory, it would just stay up there and it would go down to 1. But I didn't want it like that. I wanted it to be separated, so that is why we have this last reset equipped slot here. It's resetting it to be empty there. If you didn't want that, you can just leave it without. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys.